Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Maurizio Cocchi, and on behalf of ETA Florence, I'm happy to welcome you to this webinar titled Agroforestry for the Bioeconomy, organized by ETA Florence as part of the activities of the MIDAS project. Today, the topic of this webinar, this is the third webinar of a series that we launched last year and that will continue on until all this year. Today, the topic is about agroforestry systems for the bioeconomy and for bio-based products. This is part of the activities of the project MIDAS that you will hear from our speakers today. So we will start with a presentation, an introduction from our project coordinator, Efi Alexopoulou, and you will then hear some more details about the agroforestry demos that we are running across Europe. And then we will continue on the discussion with the Konstantin Muraru from the European Agroforestry Federation to discuss how to scale up these solutions and to bring and to replicate across Europe. Before giving the floor to our first speaker, a few housekeeping rules. Please use the question and answer panel that you find on the three dots on the right, bottom right of the panel of the Zoom panel to make your questions, to ask your questions. So the panelists and the speakers will be able to reply either by typing or later we will select some of the questions for reply. The webinar is recorded, and both the slides and the recording will be available in a matter of a few days on our website. We encourage you to visit our website and our LinkedIn page to keep updated, to keep yourself updated. So now I would like to introduce our first speaker, Efi Alexopoulou from CRES, to give a few words of introduction about MIDAS. And Efi, the floor is yours. In the meantime, I will share the slides for you.
Thank you very much, Maurizio. I would like to thank you for the great efforts of ETA Florence and you personally to organize such a great webinar. So my presentation is going to be very short because I just want to put only the skin of MIDAS, and then the speakers, they are going to present it in detail, what we have done so far. Keep in mind that we are almost few months before the completion of the project. So starting, if you can put it, Maurizio, on full screen, just to give you an idea, in MIDAS that started it right now, started almost 3.5 years ago, we selected a certain numbers of low look feedstock to work on selected industrial crops and cropping systems, and all of these were established on marginal land in Europe. So two were the main pillars. First of all, to optimize selected industrial crops that they are more tolerant to water scarcity, to climate change, and to work throughout Europe. And moreover, to improve their value chains and to get very high value bio-based products. So if we move to the next, just apart from the main objective and the two pillars, we have a certain number of specific objectives. Today we're going to focus on the agroforestry, but keep in mind, apart from this, we are doing the mapping of marginal land. It's an update of a work that and a more extended work compared to what we have done in a MAGIC project. We try to optimize the crops through breeding or cultural practices, but the most important for us is the objective number 3, that we are working on case studies. Intercropping agroforest is included, and in all of the case studies we work with farmers. Of course, the main concept is to have value chains, and these value chains to give us the opportunity to produce 11 bio-based products. If we move to the next, we can see that apart from this, we have also the sustainability, the organization of the value chains, the business plans that we are going to develop scenarios for the farmers. And of course, it's a multi-actor project. So apart from the scientists, we have SME, academia, farming community, and to be more specific, in all of the case studies, we working with regional farmers group. And of course, we have the coordination. Let's move to the next to see in MIDAS at a glance. Here you can see very quickly the whole activities of the project. So the main elements is the mapping of the marginal land, develop low look systems on marginal areas, more than 11 products, and of course value chains, business plan, and multi-actor engagement. The project has the element of international collaboration, and we have with us Brazil and Canada. Let's move to the next. In the next, you can see which crops have been selected for the purpose of MIDAS. We have a big group of oilseed crops, crambe, carinata, castor bean. We have lignocellulose crops that can be perennial or woody species or annual herbaceous, and dryland straps. The last category has guayule and lavender. You can see some photos from the crops, and if we move to the next, you can see which were it was here. I mentioned several times that we update the work that was done in MAGIC to determine which is the marginal area in Europe. In the previous project, we found that it was around 29%, but the work that has been done so far in MIDAS, we saw that an increase is expected, more than 30%, and the increase of marginal land is expected to be monitored in the south of Europe. Let's move to the next. And here you can see the intercropping system. We grow on strips in the same area, perennial and annual crops. The annual crops are in rotation between the perennial. Today, in this webinar, we are going to focus on agroforestry, where the perennial crops are woody species. Let's move to the next. And with this graph, I want to show you how important is for us the case studies of MIDAS, because they are connected with all the main elements of the project. So all of the activities of the project taking information from these case studies. Let's move to the next. And with this, I would like to present the consortium. It's a real big consortium with very long experience on industrial crops. And you can see after my presentation what we have done so far on agroforestry. And with that, I would like to thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Effie. Thank you for this quick but effective introduction. So now you have a complete understanding of what Project MIDAS is about. In the meantime, I see that Konstantin has joined us. Hi, Konstantin. So we can now move to our second speaker and jump into the real topic of today's webinar. Our second speaker is Simone Bergonzoli from CREA, Italy, and his presentation will be on the integration of short rotation poplar and oil crops in Italy for bio-based products. Simone, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Maurizio. Good evening, everybody. So I will share my screen. I hope you see the screen. So I will tell you something about our trial regarding the integration of short rotation poplar and oil crop in Italy for biomass and bio-based production. So basically, we have a great experience on poplar biomass production regarding short and medium rotation forestry approach. So we had the idea at the beginning of the project to have a new concept of agroforestry. And we did it removing half of the plant in one stand we had of poplar rotation just after the harvesting of poplar plantation. So this new plantation was made just in the framework of MIDAS project, and our cultivation of the interrows started just after the starting of the project, removing half of the plant. The idea was to give a new business model to farmers that maybe had some problems in running a traditional short and medium rotation forestry approach of poplar. We focus our attention mainly on mechanization because we deal mainly on with mechanization in agro and forestry project we have. So we had 3 years cultivation of interrows. You can see from above the picture of our stand, and we compare our result to a control surface we had just outside the stand of poplar. So we had this half-hectare surface that was dedicated to poplar plantation in this new approach, and the control surface just outside. So the first year was dedicated to safflower and crambe that you can see in yellow and blue, and then the second year only to safflower, and we closed the rotation adopting safflower in yellow and sorghum this year in blue, because the idea was to select a crop for the last year of the short rotation forestry cycle that can be harvested at once with poplar. With normally machine are used to harvest woody species. And basically, we were comparing the performance of the agroforestry plantation with a traditional poplar plantation that we had on one side to a control surface dedicated to the same crop we grown inside. So speaking about poplar, you can see that we had half of the plant in the agroforestry stand respect to the traditional one, but the result was an increase of the unit biomass production. So the single plant in the agroforestry plantation produced more shoots and more diameter and more biomass respect to the traditional poplar plantation. But having more plant, of course, the traditional poplar plantation resulted in higher biomass respect to the new one. Speaking about safflower, we got the results are related to 1 square meter. So we need to apply more seeds in the agroforestry plantation because we experienced a lot of problems in sprouting of the crop after sowing. But despite this, we had less biomass of straw biomass, but less seed production, but not that much that straw biomass. So basically the plant was slower and shorter, but the seed production was quite comparable to the traditional agricultural surface we had. Respect to crambe and sorghum, basically the situation was the same. So we got less production in the agroforestry system respect to the traditional agricultural surface. And the same situation was for fiber sorghum. The main problem we had was the autumn sowing, because in our area the land is very wet. The autumn was very rainy. So in that case, inside an agroforestry plantation, you had to be very sure that you can seed. That's why we apply spring sowing for the agroforestry plantation, even if we applied autumn sowing outside the plantation. Regarding mechanics, that was the main topic of our trial. We did not experience any differences in terms of performances, let's say time and cost related to mechanics. The only problem we had was that after the first year, the poplar plantation of the agroforestry started to get bigger and bigger, and we had problems in the inter-row space that started to 6 meters between lines, and now is 4 meters between lines. So that was a problem in sowing, but also in finding the right machine to harvesting the safflower that is harvested by a traditional combine harvester. So you need to find, let's say, short machine respect to the normal machine that is used in our country. And then we ran a short-term evaluation of biodiversity of arthropods, and we used that traps that is very used in for that kind of purposes. That is called Malaise trap. Basically, the trap is able to catch the flying biodiversity you have. And we compared the results we got inside the agroforestry plantation respect to normal poplar plantation, the safflower outside the plantation, that is our control surface, and also to eucalyptus stand that we had in the same experimental farm, and to the stubble after cereal harvesting that you can see in the picture. The results were quite interesting. We also reached a research publication for that because we had more arthropods in the agroforestry, but also more biodiversity indexes that performed very well inside our plantation. So the results were quite promising, and then we are going to run a long-term evaluation of biodiversity. And then we also had a soil biodiversity evaluation in the same areas we performed the arthropods biodiversity study. We analyzed some parameters of soil, bulk density, penetration resistance, and shear resistance, but also chemical in terms of organic matter and pH. And we also evaluate the QBS air index, that is the microarthropods diversity. The results are still being analyzed, but I can tell you that we're not that different in terms of this kind of parameters. But we experienced some differences for some of that parameters. And just to summarize our results, the problem we experienced was the inter-row space that we had selected in our poplar plantation. We knew that it will be very, very close, the line, but we also had the idea to study that kind of configuration. So our new approach is to have a new poplar plantation that is not the same, but very close to the one we studied, with a new configuration, having more space in inter-rows. So we are going to study 9 meters of inter-row space between lines and 12 meters of inter-row space. Also trying to cultivate food crops, not only oilseed crops, just to see how is going on about food crops. And we are also going to run a long-term study of arthropods biodiversity and also soil biodiversity and parameters study. So I just wanted to give you some flash and some general idea of our trials, just to give you our expertise about that and poplar plantation and this new concept of agroforestry system. So I hope I was quite clear, and I'm very open to listen your question or to answer you in the chat. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Simone. This is a very, very interesting presentation, and I see you're having very nice results. I actually have a question for you out of curiosity. You mentioned before that you are experiencing problems with the trees invading the interspace
Yes.
between the rows. Do you think that reducing the rotation cycle of the poplar, so cutting more often, could help to keep them on the line?
Thank you for your question. It could be a solution, even if you have to consider the management of that kind of plantation. It's a compromise between woody biomass and crop biomass. So if we look at the maximum production of woody biomass, you have to wait at least 3 years. This means that just after the first year, you have that kind of reduction of interrow spaces, because the poplar that is going to have more space on the side try to grow more wide than the normal plantation. So reducing the cycle could be an option, but I don't know in terms of biomass. So that's why we are going to study a different approach of interrows, but it could be an option.
Because I remember this demo here, the plants were already there. You just
cut it.
Cut
so
one
yeah.
So
yes.
Once you start with a new layout on purpose, the results will be better. Thank you. I see maybe there is maybe a question in the question and answer panel for you. So maybe just have a look at it. In the meantime, thank you again, Simone. And I would like to invite our next speaker, Luis Esteban from CIEMAT, with his presentation about the very, very interesting and innovative agroforestry trials using Siberian elm and lavender alongside annual rotating crops. So, Luis, the floor is yours. We can't hear you. You're muted.
Now? Okay, thank you.
Yes.
So we share my screen. So
yes, fine.
Okay.
All fine now.
Thank you, Mauricio, and thank you everybody to attend this interesting webinar. I am going to speak about our trials in the framework of the MIDAS project, that is agroforestry trials using Siberian elm and lavender in the rotating crops in northern Spain. So our work area is just, as you can see, in half part north of the Spain, in the region of Castilla and León and the province of Soria. So in this area we have our center, that is the Center for Development of Renewable Energies. And here you can see our plot area in which we make the trials. And not very far from this area, there is a crop place, normal rotations with cereals in the rain-fed conditions. So our design, our trials are a combination of agroforestry. You can see here the plots with the Siberian elm, and in the same framework, the same design, we have the plots with the lavender. In between the strips, we cultivate each year with the annual species that are safflower, crambe, and melilot. So in these strips that are 18 meters, we used to plant every year the 3 species in combinations in different years. So our place is characterized to be at 1,000 meters above the sea level, and an annual average temperature, it is between 10 and 11 degrees. The annual rainfall is between 400 and 500 millimeters, and it's a sandy loam soil. It is quite a poor soil with very low content of organic matter, of 0.5, and the pH is also a bit acid. So in this kind of framework, we have cultivated As perennial species, Ulmus pumila, that is a Siberian elm, and the Lavandula stoechas, that is lavender, but no usual lavender cultivated in Spain, that is normally is lavandin. In this case, this is a new species that is originally from the southern west of Spain and Portugal, and we have studied this species, Lavandula albiceri, to be cultivated in marginal conditions, and to forward the species cultivation to marginal sites, because it's well adapted to marginal sites, and to try to know if it can be adapted to climate, taking into account that the climate change are permitting us to cultivate the species out of the original area. And this map on the left is the potential area we estimate in another project in BioNat for the Siberian elm as possible to be cultivated in good conditions in the green, and the yellow part as quite acceptable conditions. So our task gave the results you can see here in this table. We established the plantations, for example, for the lavender and the Siberian elm, just in the campaign 2022-2023. And then for the annual species, we cultivate each year with different results. So the first year, we have very good results with safflower and crambe, but the rest, the two next campaigns, the results were not so good due to mainly problems with the weather. In this area, we saw these species in spring. And the spring have the problem that sometimes we have hot temperatures and scarcity in water, and this causes that the nascence of the species is not easy. So other question that we are very interested to solve is the mechanization of this species. I am talking about the Siberian elm. We tried in the previous project these machines. One is the accumulating head, harvesting head, for trees that the diameters are high, more than 10 centimeters. And for less than 10 centimeters basal diameters, we have used this machine that crush the biomass and push the biomass towards a container. So this both are works very well, and the productivities are reasonable. And for the use of the Siberian elm and lavender, in MIDAS we have performing particle board and medium density board. Here you have the results. The results for the particle board with Siberian elm are promising, because the consumption of formaldehyde, the formaldehyde content, that is important measure of the possible emissions of volatile organic compounds, are very low compared to the normally conifer wood in the boards. And also the internal bond is interesting. It's very good parameter for the Siberian elm. And here you can see what we do in other projects, also in MIDAS, with the processing of the biomass harvested from the Siberian elm. This first is a milling, then we dry it, and then we produce a sorting of the different components of the biomass by sieving and by blowing. In that sense, we can separate most part of the bark content in these small stems that are problematic for the production of the particle boards. Also, the fraction, the good fraction that we get are interesting for pyrolysis, and they can get very good biochar. And for lavender, in this case, we make a plantation, but a machine. We have also used a harvester for this crop with very good results. and we planted in May 2023, and we have produced nowadays two harvests, one in 2024 and another one in 2025. So here are the yields of the lavender that are interesting because we produce the first year more than 1 ton per hectare of dry biomass, with a yield in essential oil of more than 0.5. The second harvest were reduced due to climate, and we get half of the first harvest, but with a little increase in the yield of the essential oil. Okay, so to conclude, with the biodiversity studies, we also perform biodiversity studies together with the Wageningen research, and we get also the first campaign, because we don't have data from the rest of campaigns, but the first campaigns we noticed that of course the flower counts is higher in the MIDAS parcels, in the MIDAS system, that in the this left hand, this is the traditional cereal rotation. And also for the insects and arachnids that we can see here in Spain, this T is the traditional, that the sum of all the species collected are lower in the traditional than in the than in this bar, that is the MIDAS stripping system. So these results are interesting for these types of crops. And as conclusions, some more than conclusions, as so far are summarize what we have seen so far, is that the perennial species, Siberian elm and lavender, have a good establishment and crop development, are not so influenced by the weather as the species we have tested with in the strips. Siberian elm performs better than lavender, and no inputs has been used, so fertilizer nor herbicides. For annual species, we have irregular yields due to weather conditions, low rainfall, high spring temperatures. The best season were the first, 2022-2023. Very poor seasons, the following seasons, and safflower performed better than crambe and than melilot. We use only fertilizer of 2,060 kilos per hectare and no herbicides. And for the biodiversity, after the first results, we think that it's positive from the point of view of the presence of different species, and mainly insects. So this is all for me, and I wait for your questions, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Luis. This was really, really interesting to hear from you about this innovative approach with these also specialty crops. It was really, really nice to see how it is developing. And I take advantage of your presentation just to make a few remarks that are valid for your specific case, but a bit valid also for the other case studies. One is the aspect that you mentioned about the challenging climate and weather and environmental conditions. Most of the partners that are working in the fields have witnessed extreme weather conditions, especially at the beginning, that have impacted on the yields and on the establishment of the plants. But this is what we have to live with, and this affects all types of agriculture. Despite this, I like what you have highlighted, that the results on biodiversity, that we are seeing very interesting results on the effects of enhancing the biodiversity of agroecosystems when you adopt these more complex agronomic and farming systems. So thank you for highlighting this. And the other thing that you showed is that we have a second component of MIDAS. This is not the topic of today's webinar. Today's webinar is focused on one specific aspect of our agricultural component, but there is a downstream component of the value chain, which is the valorization of the products of the feedstock into bio-based products, and this will be the topic of one of the next webinars in this series. So thank you again. Please have a look, and I don't see any questions in the chat for the moment, but please keep a look, have a look, and I look forward to the discussion also with Konstantin later. I'd love to see what is his opinions on this system. Thank you. So now let's move to our fourth speaker, Mateusz Czasnocza from European Cardboard Farmers. We move to Poland with a different approach, but also very innovative, and we will hear from his words. Thank you, Matteo, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mauricio. Hi, everyone. Just to make sure you can see the presentation well, you can hear me well, you can see me well as well.
Yes, we
Perfect.
can.
Thank you once again. Thank you. Of course, we are talking about agroforestry today, and I will be sharing Polish experiences coming from the MIDAS project up until now, especially when it comes to synergies between biomass, poplar biomass, and perennial grass mixtures for bioeconomy coming from Poland. I like to start by saying thank you to everyone that showed up to this webinar today. Thank you for taking your busy time for learning about what we do. Great to see a lot of partners and friends and supporters in the call. And warm welcome to those who will be listening to this recording later on. So thank you is what we would like to start with. I would like to start or open up my presentation sharing the results on our case study in Poland by spending a minute or two talking about the family farm that is hosting the demo field that we run in Poland, and especially about the transition story of that farm from conventional model of agriculture production that the farm was in till Polish accession to the EU in 2004, sorry. Then, thanks to the CAP, Common Agricultural Policy payments and support provided by that, the family farm moved from intensive agriculture production, because that was the model that was delivering financial returns, but in our specific ecosystem, often going against the natural cycles of nature present in that ecosystem, to what we call regenerative agriculture 1.0. So diversified crop rotation, less tillage, cover crops, and then from 2008 onwards to perennial grasses, which are indeed the natural form of management of our particular land that we own and manage within the Vistula Delta in northern Poland. Even though Vistula Delta is one of the most fertile regions when it comes to agriculture production in Poland, our soils and our farm soils are pretty poor as per the average of the region. And so they are natural grasslands that we have returned to. The presentation will be shared with you. A lot of the photos that are in the presentation or graphs have hyperlinks attached to them, so you can click, learn more about what is being discussed in most of the slides. So this is the farm that is hosting the MIDAS demo field in Poland. Talking about the MIDAS project as such, also being a farmer and having this tremendous possibility of running a business that is beneficiary of Horizon Europe project and part of the MIDAS project, I would like to draw your attention to what was back then called EAP Agri, and now it's called CAB Network. This is how we met for the first time with the coordinator, Effie, of this project. And I encourage every single farmer that is listening to us, farmer organization, if you are not engaged yet with EU CAP network, please do get involved. It really can change your transformation trajectory when it comes to how you run your farm or your organization. So that's the origin. And talking about the demo site itself, located in northern Poland, Vistula Delta, one of the most fertile regions. However, the particular parcel, because of being located in the delta, so alluvial soils which differ literally meter by meter, located on poor part of that region. This is the parcel itself. You are all welcome and invited to visit it. And now with the operational agroforestry system on top of it, we are in the agroforestry system side of things. So poplar as a perennial crop, and in between we have perennial grasses as well, with the regional advisory group going alongside the project activities. 3 rows of grass and trees, 20 meters each of grass or perennial grasses, and 6 meters of trees, around 70 plus meters in length, located like presented on the slide. The species of grass that have been established is Kopfot, Meadow Fescue, and Timothy, established in early 2023, and then re-established in October that year. Same with the trees, established at the beginning of 2023 and re-established in April year after. Marginality criteria of the demo site, very poor soil conditions, very dry soil, very sandy soil. Crops are drying out during the production period. And of course, at this point, at the beginning of 2026, we have completed successfully 3 years of project operation and entering operationally and agronomically into the 4th year. Year number 1, 2023, was more or less a normal year in terms of weather, no major difficult or off the scale weather events. But years 2024 and 2025, we have experienced what is now a new normal of weather that made operations challenging, or just needed to account for that crazy weather that I will talk a little bit more about in a few slides' time. So some photos, establishment of the trees, establishment of the grass. We have very active cooperation with Jung, Institute of Soil Science and Fertilization in the Republic of Poland, that also collected soil samples from the field, and re-establishment of the grass, as said before, in October 2023. Very good idea, because the wind pressure for the initially established grasses was big, and that made a difference to the yield and production later on in the running of the field. And very important, first real harvest, because we have harvest in 2023, the grasses, but because of the fact that they have been newly established, the yield was really marginal. And here you can see, I chose this photo in particular because you can see the rows of grass, which is really the October 2023 seeding, giving results right there. So where are we now with the demo field, especially zooming in on last year, 2025? As mentioned before, we are after what was a very difficult year weather-wise. Operationally, when it comes to the management of the field, everything is going well. And dividing the insights into two dimensions, so the perennial crops and the annual woody biomass. In terms of the perennial crop, we have successfully harvested first cut last year. Normally we do 2 cuts per year. The yield was lower than what we would be expecting because of dry conditions. There was less rain than normally. And the second cut was not possible at all because from last days of July, it started raining and didn't stop for a month and a half, literally didn't stop. This area, Żuławy Wiślane, has been severely affected, and farmers couldn't both collect and establish the crops that they were that they are growing in the region. So very difficult year. Because it was very difficult year water-wise, so heat on production of hay, the trees benefited from that because they had a lot of water, so they could grow much faster than expected, and the trees are looking really strong. In terms of production of the hay, one of the challenges we are seeing, which is an insight for us, is that even though we are doing operationally everything the best we can, because of the structure of the soil, very sandy, the crop we are producing actually is contaminated with that sand more than a normal crop would be on a non-marginal land, which possibly is a challenge with processing. In terms of the trees, 2 major challenges we are seeing, also not unexpected, and are coherent with other challenges of farmers that are considering establishing industrial crops in Poland, as learned doing questionnaires for other work packages of the project. A challenge from animals, both wild and domestic, is a really big consideration in establishing those kind of projects, and is a challenge for us. Like, we do have damage from wild animals, but also domestic animals from neighbors. And wind. We have majority of winds coming from the north. In case of this demo field, as you can see in some of the photos, in the north you have all trees established. So really the winds from the south, in the case of this particular demo field, are really affecting the growth of the trees that are directly exposed to the wind, and that is a big consideration. Now, I think it's one of the first days in Poland where we are slowly entering into spring. You can really feel it in the air, and because we had very strong winter, both in terms of the cold and in terms of the snowfall, we are expecting a good year, given that the weather will stay within the range. Coming to the close of my presentation, very important dimension of the project are the regional advisory groups, and I would like to just share a little bit on that. We are very strategic when it comes to the work of our regional advisory group and its importance to the project. In Poland, the first meeting happened in central Poland at the National Advisory Center for Agriculture Production. A lot of the participants that are with us online can find themselves in this photo. Then we went to the demo field itself and to our farm. Year after, last year, we went back to central Poland, or a little bit to the south, and made today regional advisory group meeting, which you can actually access the recordings of by clicking on those photos. And we will have our 4th meeting at the end of this month. The date is known, and soon we will be promoting and inviting the existing and the new members of the regional advisory group through our channel, so stay tuned. And if you want, if you speak Polish, if that's of interest to you, you can join our WhatsApp group of the MIDAS RAC in Poland. With that, I say thank you for your attention. Thank you for this opportunity to present what we do and get engaged with us, as well as with other partners and work packages as relevant for you and for your work. Thank you, Mauricio.
Thanks to you, Mateus. And I encourage all the participants to go to our website and find the recordings and the video, the very, very professional and nice videos that Mateus made of both the regional advisory groups. I think one is also translated, at least one or two, even two are translated in English. So it's really, really worth watching. You can find them in our page of results on the MIDAS website, and they are really, really insightful and informative. Thank you, Mateus, again. I have a question for you, but I will keep it for the discussion later. Okay, so now we move to Hungary, and I would like to invite our partner Zoltán Hajdú from Soltube to explain to introduce the demo site in Hungary, and I will share the slides for you. So Zoltán, the floor is yours. Let me just share. Okay, I'll put it in full mode. It should be full screen now, right?
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Maurizio. Thank you, Maurizio. Good day, good afternoon to everybody, and welcome to our MIDAS webinar. I'm Zoltán Hajdú, manager of Soltube Limited from Hungary. And briefly, I will present to you in the frame of the MIDAS project, the agroforestry case study in Hungary. Next one. Yes, thank you. The field trials are situated nearby Budapest, approximately 30 kilometers northeast. The field trials is a half a hectare, which is subcontracted from the Mate Gödöllő University. The marginality factors are slopes, approximately 5 to 8%, and low soil organic matter, approximately 1%. Another issue is that what we are dealing is that large soil variability from sandy to brown clay soil. Yes, next, please. So the plot arrangement is actually in an intercropping system where we have annual crops, safflower, sorghum, and hemp, and agroforestry, perennial crops, miscanthus, and poplar. And as you see in this schematic representation, the poplar and miscanthus plants are situated in the middle, on the left and the right side, and in the middle, in between, are situated the annual crops. The small boxes representing the annual crops, which in every year we are randomly replicate them, and we will continue this work also in this year. Yes, next, please. So it's a few pictures about how it is. It looks like on the left side you see the poplar rows and miscanthus rows, and nearby the safflower and sorghum plantations. The next, please. So my duty is to present you some aspects about miscanthus and poplar. We start with miscanthus. Miscanthus is known as elephant grass, Chinese silver grass, Suzuki grass, and other names. Actually, it's a perennial herbaceous plant which has can grow up to 2, 3, or 4 meter highs, with stalk diameter between 10 or 12 millimeters. In the past, let's say 10 or maybe 20 years, usually it was used as energy crop. But later on, in nowadays also is start to be used also for other purposes, for example, paper or particle board production, which the Hungarian case I will present you later on regarding this. The plant, sorry, back, please. The plant develops 15, 25 centimeter deep rhizomes, which actually serve as a nutrient deposit for the plant. We are talking about a tropical and a subtropical plant having 14 species originating from South Asia, China, Polynesia. And in Europe, we know also some ornamental plants. From the genetic point of view, we are talking about a triploid sterile hybrid between Miscanthus sinensis and Sahari floris. The next, please. Regarding the agrometeorological demands, we can say that concerning the nutrients, we are talking about carbon 4 or C4 type crop, similar with the corn. But the difference with compared to the corn is that not so sensible to the fertilizers. So in the past, the provided fertilizers experiences show that Miscanthus does not react actually to the fertilizers. As is a subtropical plant, it can grow under, let's say, normal condition with the normal rainfalls, 300, 400 for the 500 millimeters on square meters. Regarding the temperature, the vegetation starts in spring when the soil is approximately 8-10 degrees, is something similar with the corn, and in autumn stops the growing approximately at the same temperature conditions. Regarding the soils, it has a large adaptability, mostly preferring the sandy soil and then silty loam soils. Thank you. Next, please. As I mentioned before, Miscanthus grows from rhizomes, which are in the cultivation process, are collected from previous fields. There is a vegetative production, and these 10-12 centimeter long rhizomes are planted in squares of 1 meter per 1 meter or less, 0.8 or 0.8 meters, having on a hectare in average 10,000, 15,000 plants. The crop maintenance is mostly difficult in the first year because the rows are not closed and weed problems can arise. Regarding production, in cooler regions usually have 15-20 tons per hectare diameter, in warmer region even higher. Of course, this depends on soil conditions, crop density, water supply, and other conditions. Regarding harvesting, we can say that it is harvested in one step or in 2 steps. The two steps means that plants are cutted and later on baled by machinery, or in one step when is cutting and baling is simultaneously. Most suitable is the period is January and early March to be harvested. The storage most suitable approximately at 25% humidity. If humidity is higher, then molding problems can arise. The next, please. The Miscanthus industrial utilization is due to high cellulose content. From the 50% raw cellulose content, 25% is hemicellulose. mostly cellulose nanocrystals and cellulose nanofibers, which can be used in coating as coating materials, medical products, acoustic membranes, plastic substitutes, and so many more. As is a good crop for energy, green energy production, has a potential of 17-19 megajoule per kilogram at 10% dry matter. Also, from the agricultural point of view, it's a good crop for carbon sequestration due to rhizomes, harvested products, and crop residues. Also can be used in animal bedding and mulching in horticulture. The next, please. In the regional advisory group, we have a colleague who is dealing with large quantities of miscanthus, and he has over 200 hectares, which mean that 4,000 or 5,000 tons of raw products can be processed. The next, please. And here you have the products, the Hungarian products of this farmer. You see here on the left side the papers, in the middle of the cardboard, the board, and in the middle also the cellulose products and the glue in the left side, which can be used for particle board. Next, please. The second crop which I'd like to present to you.
I think we have to conclude in 1 or 2 minutes.
Okay. It's poplar, which is used also for industrial purposes. Yes, next, please. The next, please, Maurizio, please. Yes. Poplar is vegetative crops also, and is multiplied by cuttings. Next, please. The cuttings are planted in single rows or in double rows. Next, please. And sometimes we have problems with diseases. It's Melamsora of the leaf rust. Next, please. The production and utilization for industry is pellets, paper industry, furniture, construction industry. On the left side, you see the wood pellets from poplar trees, characterization in ash content, moisture content, and durability. Next, please. Some words about the MIDAS RAG meetings. Last year we had the third RAG meetings organized together with the Mate University together. Usually the meetings have the 2 parts, with a lecturing and consulting section, and the second part is the field trials. The results and presentations are available on the SOTUB website. The next, please. So we have 2 pictures about these meetings, and as a conclusion, we can say that the miscanthus and poplar cultivation is performing well. It's no problem with that, and we will going for the 4th year with the same condition. Next, please, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Zoltan. Thank you. And as for Mateus, I can say to our participants that the videos of the regional advisory groups in Hungary are also available on our website. I have a question for you as well, but I keep it for the discussion if we have enough time, because I would really like now to introduce our last speaker, Constantin Muraro, Secretary General of the European Agroforestry Federation, to introduce the activities of the Federation and to discuss with us what you think about this approach of innovative approach of agroforestry and how you see them and the possibility to scale up. What you think we could do to scale up and replicate this across Europe? Zoltan, Konstantin, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Mauricio, and many thanks to the MIDAS consortium for inviting EURAF to be part of this webinar. With your permission, I'll share my screen for 2-3 minutes.
Absolutely.
And then I look forward to continuing the discussion with you all, and feel free to address any questions you might have via chat or afterwards.
You have time. You have time.
Great, perfect. I'll try to be brief, right? So essentially, we keep on talking about agroforestry, right? As a set of practices that was omnipresent across Europe in the past, and now it's coming back, as you have seen in all these cases from all across Europe, and that's maybe an opportunity for me to congratulate all of you for the inspiring presentations you have delivered. The current problems we're referring to on this intro slide essentially are the business models, right? We see in our daily life this this linear economy, right, which leads to lots of challenges when it comes to environmental footprint, waste management. So again, through initiatives like MIDAS, I think EURAF as a federation has more arguments to profile agroforestry for being central to the whole idea of bioeconomy. For those of you who have not heard of EURAF yet, it's an opportunity for me to tell you that we're an umbrella organization based in Brussels, and we have member organizations from all across Europe. I saw some familiar names in the list of participants, so I'm very happy to see some known names, but also to meet people with whom we haven't been in touch. And essentially, while EURAF started as a maybe an academia-led organization, gradually became a multi-stakeholder institution, so to say. So we have colleagues involved in not only in agriculture and forestry research, but also in advisory services, in education, in lots of other branches, let's say, of agroforestry. I'll maybe skip these slides because they're self-explanatory. So essentially, as mentioned earlier, our objective is to somehow bridge the gap between national developments and policy matters at EU level. And we're relying essentially on the outcomes, on the deliverables from the projects we work on. So you have here an overview of the projects we are doing, with a caveat that the standard and resilience on top of the list have just ended in November last year, while the 4 new ones on the bottom have just started in the past months. Unfortunately, we don't have any specific projects on bioeconomy in as much as we would like to, but maybe this discussion will help us to build on your efforts in MIDAS and maybe start a new project idea on bioeconomy. There were quite a lot of interesting references to agroforestry in the previous slides, and I would like to mention that in our discussion, let's say with policymakers, we rely on this typology of agroforestry practices. But maybe what's important for you as you focus on bioeconomy, essentially one could connect, let's say, opportunities in the bioeconomy industries with products derived from all those practices. So there's nothing, let's say, that particular about this information here. But what matters again, when we talk about agroforestry in the context of bioeconomy, is that through efforts in the past years, we have managed to convince policymakers that agroforestry deserves a place in EU legislation. And now essentially we have, besides definitions in all the common agricultural policy strategic plans, which clarify what agroforestry is, We also have references in the nature restoration legislation, in the legislation on carbon farming, etc., etc. So this is to say, if one is pitching an agroforestry idea for bioeconomy or for investment in the area of bioeconomy, yeah, the topic is easier to be defended, right? Because it's a legal subject, right? And it also has, for example, again, recognition at national level. How much agroforestry is out there? I won't go into details, but just for you to know, there's also work on this subject. Our objective essentially is to push towards having more or less 10% tree crown canopy cover on agricultural land, that is to say grassland and cropland. And we see again bioeconomy as an idea that can help us go in this direction. Why this is important? I mean, on the one hand, we have, as you see here on the map developed by colleagues in the project Digitaf, we have areas with lots of agroforestry, which is depicted in green, but we also have what is referred to as tree deserts. So these are areas where you could barely see a tree on agricultural land, and we would argue this is where the most potential for new agroforestry lies, and implicitly possibly also for bioeconomy opportunities. Advantages and challenges, I think, again, this is self-explanatory. Maybe these are subjects we can refer to during the discussion. But this is where I was heading after these introductory slides. How do we see maybe in our membership, let's say, the potential for bioeconomy innovation? And I think it's worth reflecting for a second and considering, for example, the challenges, right, which we see, for example, in the media, which are for example talked about by civil society organizations, and I think our consumption patterns, right, or our lifestyle, right, as a matter of fact, are causing, right, issues, you could say, in all different kind of fields. But if you look at, for example, textiles, right, so there was I saw a graph the other day, right? There was lots of increase in the use of synthetic fibers in the past decades because it's cheap, right? And it's fossil fuels, right, are omnipresent, you could say. But one could also look at, for example, bio-based fibers like lyocell or modal, right, to make clothes. So this may also bring additional opportunities for farmers or foresters managing agroforestry land. There was an interesting, right, presentation about the lavender case study, right? And I think again, if we look at issues, right, either in the media or in the society, right, there are lots of concern, for example, about the impact of plant protection products. I think again, we can, not to say that agroforestry can solve all the issues, but we can find some solutions. For example, when it comes to using willow extracts as a growth hormone, right? Or netto water. So INFU stands for insecticide or fungicide. Among others, also lavender oil, I understand, may also be used for its fungicidal benefits in agriculture. So again, I think lots of potential for innovation in this field as well. And lastly, I think also, the construction sector, while it may seem like we're over-promising, this is not to say that all the construction materials should come from agroforestry. I think there's some potential, right, to look into the possibility of using, for example, again, biomass or even hempcrete, right, from hemp, or miscanthus was mentioned earlier, right, as construction materials, but also I think again specialized chemicals. Again, there's lots of interest, as it was mentioned earlier, in products with low formaldehyde content, as this is known to cause issues for indoor air quality, and different kind of chemicals. But my favorite example, and you might have come across this story from Australia, is you could say the crazy idea of Rowan Reed, who's a farmer and a forester and an innovator in the area of bioeconomy, who actually planted lots of trees when he took over his family farm about 30 years ago. And fast forward to these days, he harvested some of those trees, and he managed with his family and friends, he managed to build an entire house out of agroforestry derived timber. And you could say this is a romanticized case study, right, from Australia. But I think we can extract, some of these lessons from history, and reflect on how possibly, our children or grandchildren could also do something like that in Europe. And among others, they also use some of the leftovers, right, from this timber, to make guitars, right, which is also, I think, another possibly niche applications when you look at bioeconomy innovation. I won't go through the other slides again, as they're self-explanatory. Also some content on policy, but maybe I think what I can leave here as a food for thought, right, is again the take-home message, right? What do we have to do to make sure that businesses, right, for example, active in the area of bioeconomy, can make use of agroforestry derived materials. We think in Europe that essentially, in order to achieve this aspirational objective of having 10% canopy cover by 2040, we need a full integration of agroforestry across all policies. And that's easier said than done. I mean, you could say we started small with a common agricultural policy and a couple of others, but essentially the recognition of agroforestry will only be complete when it's acknowledged across different kind of policies, for example, in the area of landscape planning, climate, and also again bioeconomy or circular economy policies. So there's a lot to be done in the coming years, but I'm happy again that we can make use of the great work you've done in the project. And on this note, as I think time has run out, I'm happy to address any questions you might have. Many thanks.
Thank you, Konstantin, for this great outlook, and thank you for this last slide. This was actually my question, what we need to do, and thank you for this very straightforward and take-home message. Let me see if I see any questions in the panel. Yes, we have a question for you. What is your position on the CRCF draft? And how do you see the situation on agroforestry in the post-2027 CAP? I don't know if you can answer this live now, quickly, and maybe...
Gladly, yeah. So maybe just on just to scratch the surface, right? Because the CRCF is a very complex topic, and maybe I'll paste our input to these policy discussions in the chat. Essentially, it's a great opportunity, right? The CRCF is a great opportunity because it recognizes agroforestry in the title of one of the methodologies. And I think this is, again, for the moment, is unprecedented. So there's lots of potential, but obviously, as in the case of other policies, we have to see how the implementation will happen. So that's the short answer. Then when it comes to the post-2027 CAP, again, I'll mention the work done by our colleagues in the project Digitaf. We looked at all the approaches around agroforestry in all the member states' common agricultural policy plans. And our idea is to get back to the Commission and say, hey, we're not pointing fingers, but these are the good pupils. These are the pupils who should learn, right, from the good pupils, right? So, for example, there's lots of positive situations, right, across Europe, where, for example, the budget allocated for the agroforestry measures was exhausted very quick. So this means there's lots of interest. So this also means that the member states have defined, you see, the subsidies, the incentives in an accessible and clear way. So we hope, again, the Commission, right, will guide member states in developing the post-2027 CAP plans in a way that yeah, we would continue on this positive trend.
Thank you, Konstantin. So we can keep 2-3 more minutes. We're running out of time, but I would like to keep continue on for 2 more minutes, and I would like to invite our speakers, Mateus and Zoltan. They both mentioned the regional advisory group, and of course, extend the discussion also to the other speakers. I would like to have your views, what from the field you experienced as the interest, the curiosity, and the challenges that the farmers in your regional advisory groups raised during the meetings about scaling up and replicating these solutions. Mateus first and Zoltan second. Thanks for being short.
Yes, thank you, Mauricio. So two major insights coming from our regional advisory group on that topic of scaling, very much connected with what Konstantin was sharing as well, to your question or to the question from the chat on the regulation. The interest is there, and farmers want to do it, but we have, at least in the Polish reality, we have a gap between doing projects to learn the system and have experience of how to operate things, to doing that at scale in a profitable way. And here, directing public money and also other sources of money, but especially public, given that CAP is such an important topic in terms of farm income for average farm in Poland and the EU, is a key priority. That's why we have also policymakers in our regional advisory groups, and that's why the fourth meeting that we are organizing will be to big extent held in Warsaw, to exactly bridge that gap and make that point once again loud and clear. Hey, it works. The interest is there. The interest is huge. We need to continue building some bridges and hopefully finish them.
Thank you so much. Zoltan, what's your view? What the experiences
as I mentioned, in each year in the past, we kept those 3 RAG meetings, and it was a short time allocated to discuss more in detail. I'd like to mention that in our group, less farmer, but mostly students were those participants. For students, actually, as I observed, is a novelty to see in practice such intercropping fields. They at least in theory, they are learned, but to see in practice, it was not possible. So I think it's a good chance to see on the field such intercropping system and such crops as safflower, for example, which was a curiosity for them. Another issue is that in each RAG meeting, we had a specialist who present a topic more, let's say, more in detail. The first one is not last year, previous year. It was a hemp producer who is actually producing oil from the hemp. So the hemp seed was the interested, not the fiber. And the last year, in 2025, was the colleague in dealing with miscanthus. And this is unique in Hungary. And in last our meeting in MIDAS, I also asked colleagues that somebody know an interest in miscanthus industrial processing, and the answer was that no. So I'd like to help this farmer colleague to, let's say, broaden these industrial products also in Hungary. But if somebody is interested outside of Hungary, it's also welcome. So in general, we can say that Also in the first, I forgot to mention that also in the first RAG meeting, also local, not public authorities were presented, and the Food and Feed Agency, for example. And but again, usually we have a larger and a different audience. So, and on each side, the interest is different, of course.
Yes, of course. Regional advisory groups are
Yes,
not only
and,
farmers, but
yes,
local
and
stakeholders.
finally, that in the last meeting we had 2 or 3 farmers who are, let's say, looking for new opportunities. So they are usually plant or plant cultivators, but they are interested to see some alternatives. What other possibilities are on the market, and maybe this agroforestry is a chance for them.
Thank you. Thank you, Zoltan.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so I think we used all our available time. I don't know if any of the other speakers, Effie, anyone has any last minute remarks? If not, I would like to thank you all for your availability and thank all the speakers and all the participants. I remind you that the recording and the slides of this webinar will be available soon on the website, and we will send out the slides to the participants. This is a series of webinars. The next one in April will be announced very soon. Thank you all, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.